Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to Football Manager 24 Youth Factory. This is episode number 5. First thing I want to note that the algorithm uptick, those of you who clicked like, left those algorithm comments, it took a little bit, but it actually did make a difference. It did help and boosted the series just a bit here. But let's get into the action. We've just started the season. We are one match into the season, and now that I have a skin, Jimbo skin, uploaded, I now have the instant result button. And if you are new to the series, basically to go from the 11th tier to the first tier and hopefully the Champions League and beyond, it's going to take a lot of speeding things up. We can't control every single match along the way and hope that there's going to be success. We're going to have to play our cards a little closer at hand and rely on the assistant manager, or in this case, the instant result button, to make some of our progress as we push through the seasons. So our second match of the season here is all set and ready to go, and we're going to use that instant result button, which brings us to a 3-1 victory, and it was 3-1 at halftime, so we just hung on. We actually end up seeing a second yellow for Connor Mortland. So he picked up a yellow late in the game and then saw a second yellow that saw him sent off in extra time. So fortunately, it came late enough that it did not impact the outcome at all. And actually, looking at the match stats, it was pretty close in some respects, but it was also quite clear that we were dominant in other respects. 74% possession, but the same number of chances. And I bet you if we go and look at the XG, I think it would be pretty clear that we were the better team. And yes, sure enough, that is the case. 2.7 XG for us, 1.24 for them. Just about the right result. Could have been a little closer than it was. Maybe the shots played a factor, and that could have been a closer result, but definitely the right team came out on top today. We just had a better range of chances. Quick note about the episode, and really 5 episodes kind of across the channel. Every time I do Windows updates or every time OBS updates, I have to go through a sequence of events to make sure that everything functions properly after, because every once in a while it doesn't. And it drives me nuts because I'll remember 4 out of 5 times to go through my sequence of things and make sure that everything works right before I begin recording again. And then the 1 out of 5 times that I don't is the one time that everything went haywire. This is the one time. Shut things down late one night over the weekend and ran an update, forgot, didn't run through my sequence, and I'm having to re-record 5 episodes worth of audio. There is no audio whatsoever for those 5 episodes, including this one here, so this is a re-record voiceover. But proceeding forward, Tom Fish, getting a recent scouting update on Tom Fish. Tom Fish was the weakest player in terms of current ability at the time of leaving the club that I've ever had. Of a little over a dozen players that have left, but he had plenty of potential. Surprisingly, as he is being offered out for loan right now, scouting reports coming back that he is still just a leading Vanarama South player, meaning he is equivalent of this tier and nothing more. Really surprising for me that is all he has done, that he has not really progressed much at all since leaving the club, because he wasn't somebody with low determination. He wasn't somebody with a bad personality. He wasn't improving rapidly for me, but he was definitely improving. And he was one of the better players on the squad when he left, maybe 5th or 6th best player at the time. Right now, he would only be 3rd best at his position. That's a little shocking to me that he has failed to progress. He's with Bournemouth now, and speaking of Bournemouth, a few players at Bournemouth. Quintafera is another one who is right there at Bournemouth, and he is now a decent Premier League talent for Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth yo-yos between Premier League and Championship, but this year, they're in the Championship. So for a decent Premier League player, this is a player who should be making his breakthrough. He's still just 21 years of age. He was a fantastic center back for us who was improving rapidly and was definitely a lot better than Tom Fish when Fish left. Has he been able to make that breakthrough? Last season, he had broken into the senior squad, but at the time that we had checked in on it, he had yet to make an appearance for the club. So checking in on things here within the squad, Quintafera has made the breakthrough. He has 2 senior appearances so far this season, which of course has just gotten underway, but he does not find himself in the selection. He's not first 11. He's not a regular on the bench. He's still just a senior squad piece, which is strange. And when I take a look, which of course we don't have scouting on these other guys, so all we really have is what their age is, what their value is, how many appearances they make. And the other center backs in that defense, one of them might be as good. The other starting center back is definitely not as good. And the backup center back is definitely not as good. Quintefera is solid. He does still have plenty of room for growth, though. And I'm really surprised that he is not the starter yet. But if the reality is that he hadn't broken through and now is breaking through as a breakthrough prospect, I get that he's going to have some limited playtime. But I have a feeling that as this season goes on, Quintefera is going to start featuring a lot more regularly because quality-wise, he seems to have a lot more than what these other guys have. Heading's not great at an 11. Tackling's not great at an 11. The physicals overall are just good. But he's already got a good set of mentals. And for championship level, I mean, it says he's decent Premier League. I don't know if that's the right. But he has had not only the senior team breakthrough with a Carabao Cup match, but he's actually already started one match in the championship itself. So, wasn't a great performance, but you got to get your feet wet somehow, some way, and he's done that. From now on, it's just uphill from here. He's going the right direction, and things are looking up. On to our next match, and what we have here is Worthing on the road. It's only our 3rd match, and I'm already starting to encounter a couple of injuries. Kamara, hurt on international duty, not fit. Connor Mortland, suspended for that late red card, and so selection is already starting to get a little tricky just by the 3rd match. But we do come away with a 1-0 victory on this one. Shots were again only slightly in our favor, but possession once again was fairly heavily in our favor, and we performed well, though you would hope for a more comfortable result if we're the league favorite. But scraping out wins is what you got to do along the way, and we've scraped this one by. But now things are going to start to get tricky. Ben Hassel, growing strain, out for 4 to 7 weeks. If we leave it to the physio, that's going to drop it 4 to 5 weeks. We'll do that. We don't want to mess with the injections, not at this point in the season, nothing dire, but that's going to be a big loss. Our defense takes a real hit without Ben Hassel. A day later in training, Archie Jones also picks up an injury, and then Sam Julian, another day after that. 3 injuries back-to-back. Archie Jones, backup attacking mid. Sam Julian, of course, the starting goalkeeper. And here's the real issue with this one. Bertielli's gone. Sam Julian was the backup, the quality backup to him. Greg was the one who sat on the bench daily, and we tried to not get him involved. Well, now we're not going to have a choice. It's Sam Julian and then a massive drop-off. The half a dozen other goalkeepers that I have, none of them are quality. And we are now top of the table, not only in points in the league, but we're top of the table in injuries. Highest in the league, and that's going to be a real concern going forward, that we're picking up this many injuries this fast. Nobody's on heavy match load or anything like that. Injury risk should not be that high. The good news going forward is we're not looking at some crazy schedule. We've got Saturday matches all month long. 1 Monday match. 2 things. 1, we've got Wealdstone. We've got AFC Sudbury coming up in these just 2 days separating these 2 matches. While we do not have a transfer deadline in the National League or National League South or North, there is a transfer deadline in the divisions above in the Football League, and that deadline is today. The offers are starting to come in, so hopefully I'm able to hang on to all of our players as we approach the deadline. Good news, though, is I've picked up an award for the very first time. We've won titles, we've moved up, but until you get to the 6th tier, at least in the database that I was using, there is no player awards. There's no manager awards. Nothing at all. Last year we didn't get any. I spent too much time on vacation. This time I managed all 3 matches to open, and we won all 3. So I won Manager of the Month for the very first time. But as we enter this first game against Wheelstone, it's looking tricky. No Julian, no Hassel. Moreland at least is back from his suspension, but no Archie Jones. Kamara's still coming back from his injury. It's starting to be a bit tricky, but with a lot of medium and light, at least I can rely on the guys that we have and hopefully just fill. Squad rotation right now is happening organically through injuries. And to replace Julian in goal, it's Greg. The amazing thing, as bad as Greg is, he's got good reflexes. And out of all the other players, none of them are actually any better than Greg. And the only one who even compares and is our backup right now, while Julian's out injured, is Koulibaly. And Koulibaly, the only reason for that, again, is reflexes. He's got a reflexes of 13. Here's my philosophy when it comes to goalkeepers. I'm pretty adamant in my philosophy regarding this one. First priority, stop shots. There you go. That's it. Got to be able to stop shots. If you're not a good shot stopper, you're not a good goalkeeper, period. No matter whether you play the ball well, no matter whether you intercept passes, no matter whether you command the box, no matter whether you're good at one-on-ones, no matter whether you're good aerially, like there's a million different things a goalkeeper can do. But number one, and vastly most important, is stop shots. Then the rest becomes icing on the cake. All of those other things. Being able to hang on to the ball after making a save, being able to push it away out of bounds, then back into play, all matter. But in our first go, it's a win. Against Wheelstone, 4-2. Adekunle scores very early to give us the go-ahead there, but it comes down to a penalty and a second-half goal from Atkins to really put it away, but Lanahan Penreese with the brace, one of them from the spot. We definitely had a few more shots this time. Possession wasn't massively in our favor, though. Is that the effect of the guys that are missing? Could be. But with a perfect preseason and 4 matches perfectly set, we've got 3 more coming up before we get to the FA Cup first round that we participate in, which is the second qualifying round. This is the trickiest game next, though. Fortunately, we are safe. We did not lose any players. That's a huge relief. January is another matter, but so far so good on that front. So the lineup, almost identical to what we just played, or is identical to what we just played, as it's our options. And there's definitely fatigue for some of the players, but nothing too bad, nothing over the top bad. But this is definitely the match that I'm most nervous about going into, just because of the back-to-back nature of it. And sure enough, this one goes all kinds of wrong. We lose 3-2, despite playing up a man for almost an entire half. Despite having 70% of the possession, more than twice the shots, far less fouls, more shots on target. And Penreese got us on the board right away, and yet somehow we've lost. Get the impression that we just got FM'd. Like, we really just got FM'd. You dominate and somehow still lose. And sure enough, looking at the match stats, the XG was definitely in our favor. Not massively. They had a penalty that we saved, and the rebound was put in. Their XG came almost entirely from that one sequence, that one play. That loss hurts. That loss definitely hurts. But we got to keep pushing forward. Now a week later, a little bit healthier. Grigg still in goal. Webb still at center back. Primus is having to play defensive mid for us, as Mortland just came back from international duty, was it? So he's out. We're still really stretched thin here, mostly in the back line. But Chippenham's one of those bottom feeder teams, and we win very comfortably, 5-1. But then we pick up another injury. Adekunle out for a couple weeks, And then this happens. We are second in the league at this moment because of a bunch of players on international duty. We had a game postponed. So we've got a game in hand, even though the season just started. We have the best record in the league. The one loss hurt. But that game in hand is the only difference on why we're not at the top of the league still. And Kitching, who was promised that we would win the league this year, suddenly is angry that we are failing to do so. Even though we're second in a game in hand and really off to a good start, one away loss where we got FM'd, and we're already dealing with an angry player who wants out. As a result, doesn't want to resign with the team. So Kitching's going to be a bit of an issue. He's going to probably have some attitude that isn't helping us out right now. Really isn't helping us out. But here's our match to see if we can get back on top of the league 2 days later as we win this one 2-1. Comfortable. Looks like it could have been more than 2-1, but we do come out on top and claim the 3 points. But here we are, finding ourselves now top of the league. 18 points. Not perfect. We already dropped that one result, but we got a plus 11. We're well ahead of everybody else on goal differential. Dover, Lewes, Bromley, Maidenhead, Gloucester. We've only played one of the teams that's in the promotion playoffs at the moment, but we have played Wealdstone. I believe we have played Havant and Waterlooville. Yes, we have. So we have played a few top half of the table teams out of 7 matches. So it's fairly balanced at this point. And of course, if you've won 6 matches and it's a small sample size, there could be good teams that are below the midpoint of the table, largely because they lost a match to us that if they had played, say, Chippenham, they would have won. Chippenham looks pretty bad. There's plenty more easy teams on the calendar ahead, so not too worried about that part. But we've had a slightly easier schedule to start this season, and the only upper end team that we have been up against, the only current top 7 team that we've been up against, was the only loss that we've had. So that's the one worrying thing going forward is, and this was a real problem last year, is can we actually beat the teams at the top of the league? We are looking stronger than a year ago. We are developing, but we had a lot of injuries already. We've definitely not recovered from quite a few of those yet, and we've lost to the only good team we've faced. That's a little concerning. More questions to be asked, or to be answered, that is. There's still work to do. But that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.